Welcome back to the Plays with Cars YouTube channel. My name is Michael, and it's another episode of Miniatures Monday. Now, we were off last week for the holiday, but we are back this week, and I can tell you that next week you are definitely not going to want to miss, especially if you like today's episode. So, let's get into it. Now, we are out on the workbench today because we are talking some slot cars. Specifically, we are talking about racing slot cars. You see, this upcoming Saturday is the Oregon Cup Invitational with FOSAR. That is the Portland HO Racers or Scale Auto Racers Association. Those are the guys that I've been racing with for years and years now. I've got a bunch of videos on the different FOSAR races, try to make it to at least one a year. And I've talked at length about building a track here in the garage so that we can add another stop on their tour. And the Oregon Cup is kind of the big end of the year race for them. And we are running the TFX chassis. Now, I don't happen to own a TFX chassis right now. My one from last year I sent to my dad, but essentially it is an aftermarket chassis, much like this Jag here. And that's what I wanted to go over on this Miniatures Monday is the proliferation of aftermarket chassis that are brand new to the slot car scene. You see, even not too many years ago, say 6-7 years ago, aftermarket chassis were a really big deal. Normally what you would get is standard chassis, such as this particular, I think that's a Tomy. But you could replace the motors and the windings, the armatures, the magnets, obviously your gear sets and your tires and your axles, and you would build a chassis, but you still started from a commercially available base. And that was how it was done for years and years and years. And a full aftermarket chassis was just kind of a flash in the pan idea. And even the few that existed were a carbon copy. So you could get like Tyco chassis that were Nylotron and stuff like that, but it was still a chassis from a manufacturer that was, that design was modified or changed or whatever. These are completely bespoke. These Jag chassis, they don't share anything with any other chassis. This one right here, this is a very interesting one because it is screw-on, like a T-Jet. This is the TR3 chassis. So you've got a nice screw-on chassis like a T-Jet, but an inline modern motor. And now there are a proliferation of these. There are ones now that have a can motor in them, like the Mega G Plus, things like that. Like I said, this one is Jag Hobbies. And then, yeah, this one right here is just absolutely insanely fast. And it's completely aftermarket. This doesn't share any parts with any other chassis. And these bespoke spec chassis are really, really cool. So I will be running a TFX. I did do the race last year, and I ran one last year, and quite enjoyed the car, quite enjoyed the race. But yeah, I built a car and sent it to my dad using that chassis. So I don't have one to show you, but you will see it in next week's video. As much as there were hop-ups back in the old pancake motor days, where you would have all sorts of different armatures and ohm ratings on the wires and things like that. Once the inline motor revolution came, a lot of that stuff kind of stopped. When I first did slot car racing, some slip-on silicone tires were about all you could do. You might get lucky and find some different front axles and stuff, but a lot of the chassis, they had an independent wheel on there that you couldn't even replace, or bizarro sizes on things. And so the inline chassis era, when it first started, the late 80s, 90s, and even into the early 2000s, there wasn't a whole lot you could actually do to the cars. In fact, there was quite the market for older school things like your spun aluminum rims with O-ring tires. People were still running these on pancake chassis and making these kind of parts, but you couldn't really get them for the inline cars. I found the plaque still in here from last year. Now that we've entered the era of can motors, that's what this is a can motor, all self-contained, with the little microchip here in this Mega G Plus. These are becoming hard to tune as well, yet we're getting aftermarket chassis that have this style of motor on it, even for, like I said, a T-Jet, which is something really cool and different. And here's one of those chassis with the independent front wheels like I was talking about. You can't even replace these if you want to, but this was a chassis I had built back in the day, a little bit different brushes in it, ideal your gear set, silicone tires, and that was about all you could do unless you wanted to rewind a motor, and that wasn't in the cards for most of the things, especially oddball stuff like this AMRAC. So yeah, in next week's video, we will be bringing you full coverage of the Oregon Cup Invitational, just like last year. I'm hoping this year to do kind of a lot more filming. I've got some more equipment now that I did not have before, so I can bring some things, set up a camera, and actually just kind of let it go for a little bit, and not actually have to hold it or anything, and get kind of some B-roll of some racing that I can splice in. Maybe talk to a few of the guys. I know I would love to interview Reggie, he is the father of Fozar, and yeah, just really, really great guy. And a bunch of the other ones, Scott and David, and all the guys at Fozar are really awesome. So if any of them aren't camera shy, I will try to get them on, at least to talk about the racing. And if you are local to the area, if you're in the Portland area and you're interested in doing this race, definitely hit me up down in the comments below, and I can get you hooked up with the Fozar guys. Like I said, really, really cool group of guys and girls that all ages get together and race all year round. Mostly over the winter. We kind of take a break over the summer. Like I said, this is kind of the end of the year thing, and then it'll pick back up in the fall. So, which means that it's going to be time to build a slot car track for the shop here, which is something I've been wanting to do ever since I got a garage of my own. And I think it's time. I think this year we really, really need to make at least something happen, even if it's not all to the nines. If it's just a chunk of plywood with 4 lanes on it, it's still my own track. So if you're interested in seeing that, definitely subscribe to catch some more videos. All right, that's going to do it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want a deeper dive on any particular chassis or slot cars, definitely let me know. Like I said, there's a whole group of people that are way more knowledgeable than me that I can pick their brains and put together some really nice videos on what all these different aftermarket chassis are and what they're good for racing, different classes and categories and things like that. They're really, really interesting, especially considering they really aren't all that much money. The TFX, I think, runs like $29 retail, which is, what, $5 more than the retail on an Auto World that doesn't race very well, even if the body is gorgeous, so it really is a good time to be into HO scale racing, and that is pretty cool. So we'll catch you in the next video.